When it comes to the parade of Henry VIII's wives, Katherine Parr, his sixth and final queen, is often underestimated. But without her, England might have missed out on not one but two iconic queens, Mary I and Elizabeth I. Catherine's influence went far beyond just surviving Henry, an achievement by itself. She helped restore his daughters, Mary and Elizabeth, to the line of succession, ensuring the Tudor legacy didn't end with Henry's son, Edward. But hold on, this smart, twice-widowed lady didn't just blindly become wife number 6. She accepted Henry's proposal with a mission of her own. Born in 1512 into a noble family, Katherine was a woman ahead of her time. Well-educated and passionate about learning, she had an intellectual curiosity that set her apart from the typical court ladies. By the time she met Henry, she'd already been married twice and survived both husbands. Her first marriage, arranged when she was a teenager, ended with her as a young widow. Her second husband, a much older man, left her well off but alone once again. By 30, Katherine Parr was not only wealthy but wise, having learned the art of navigating high society with tact and grace. Then came her most infamous marriage. Enter Henry VIII. At 49, Henry was no longer the charming king he once was. He was aging, ill, and struggling with a leg ulcer that left him irritable and prone to violent outbursts. After his disaster of a marriage to the giggly, doomed teenager Catherine Howard, Henry realized he needed a mature partner, not another young fling. Katherine Parr fit the bill. When Henry proposed to her, Katherine was already in love with Thomas Seymour, her future fourth husband. However, under pressure from her family, because, let's be honest, it was her neck on the line, not theirs, she reluctantly accepted. She did ask Henry for time before agreeing. In her writings, we gain insight into her motivation. Neither life, honor, nor riches, no matter how beloved, would I hesitate to leave behind to win any man to Christ, of whatever rank or station. Catherine's decision was driven by her devout Protestant faith and her belief in religious reform, not love. At a time when tensions between Catholics and Protestants ran high, she saw herself as someone who could influence Henry and perhaps steer him toward reform. Catherine's intelligence became her greatest asset. She shared Henry's interest in religion and philosophy and made her mark as the first English queen to publish her own books, multiple times. Her first book was published anonymously, but she boldly put her name on 2 later works, cementing her reputation as a religious reformer. At one point, her reformist leanings nearly landed her on the chopping block. A warrant for her arrest was even drawn up. But Katherine managed to pacify Henry with her remarkable tact, claiming her religious discussions were meant solely for his intellectual enlightenment. Flattered, Henry dismissed the charges, declaring, "You are now become a doctor, Kate." Rumor has it that they didn't even have a sexual relationship, and really, Henry seemed to respect her as his intellectual equal. Finally, Henry had a companion who could keep up with him mentally, and perhaps even outwit him. But Catherine's influence went beyond religion. She also had a tremendous impact on Henry's children, especially his daughters, Mary and Elizabeth, who had been declared illegitimate after their mothers' respective downfalls. Katherine encouraged Henry to reconcile with both of them and played a huge role in restoring them to the line of succession. She ensured Elizabeth I received a Protestant education, shaping the future queen's religious beliefs and laying the groundwork for the Elizabethan era. It's no small feat. She essentially secured the future of the Tudor dynasty by bringing them back into the fold. Without her, it's possible England wouldn't have seen the reigns of Mary or Elizabeth, and history would look very different. After Henry's death, Katherine didn't waste time mourning. She was a practical woman and swiftly remarried her true love, Thomas Seymour, a dashing, ambitious courtier and uncle to the young King Edward VI. Katherine had clearly harbored feelings for Seymour long before. In a letter to him, she wrote after her second husband, Lord Latimer, died in February 1543, "As truly as God is God, my mind was fully bent to marry you before any man I knew. Howbeit, God made that possible which seemed most impossible, to renounce utterly mine own will and follow his." This final marriage, however, was a turbulent one. Catherine became pregnant for the first time in her life, but tragically, she died shortly after giving birth, leaving behind a complicated legacy. In Katherine Parr, Henry found not just a wife but a savvy political player who knew how to steer the stormy waters of Tudor court life. She was a survivor who outsmarted her husband, escaped the threat of execution, and set the stage for England's two most iconic queens. Catherine may have been Henry's sixth wife, but she was far from just a number. In fact, without her influence, England's royal history might be entirely unrecognizable.